It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, I'm Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to Dungeons and Dystopias. My name is Tyler Hapney. I am your host. I have run over 200 combined total sessions of Cyberpunk Red and Dungeons and Dragons and many other systems. And this podcast is an attempt to, sort of talk about those two systems. Which, there's quite a bit to talk about when it comes to the both of them. But today, I think I'd like to talk, rather than talk about necessarily lore or specific events or any stories from my campaign, I think today I'd like to talk about just general a concept within Night City. And that concept is advertising. Now, I have a degree, an associate's degree in marketing and sales management. So I do have at least a little bit of an exposure to, how advertisements are crafted, or in general how they're meant to affect people. So what I can say, without a doubt, is that, and this is not a new opinion by any means from anyone, but I can say without a doubt that Cyberpunk 2077 has some of the most absurd ads you will ever see in your life. And that is, of course, a byproduct of Night City's existence as, well, essentially the capital of capitalism. I mean, if you think about it, in the Night City universe, even amongst a lot of the normal cities that exist within the United States, within this cyberpunk setting, Night City is somehow the most cyberpunk, because there's every company that can just do whatever they want. It's a place where the handrails or the guardrails are completely removed for corporations who are able to effectively do as they please. And this leads to intense violence, and intense amounts of conflict and feuds. And that itself feeds into the philosophy of Night City. Get yours, get out, if you can. Which, for a setting for a role-playing game is pretty awesome to have as kind of a fallback as a culture, because that means that you don't have to play the good guy. In Night City, in fact, it's very hard to play the good guy because the entire system is set up for you to be the bad guy. For you to essentially live in this system, you have to screw over everybody. You have to always work for yourself. And if you're working for a bigger cause, well, there's a good chance a corporation will kill you. That's all being said, this all plays into the concept of advertising in Night City, which is something that has been crucial to the cyberpunk setting since the 80s. It's not just 2077 that had crazy ads. In fact, there's old Militech ads from 2020 that had, famous models in the cyberpunk universe proudly proclaiming that Militechs were big guns for big people, or big guns for big problems. And it was still back then starting to take that sort of slant towards absurdity. Of course, when it was written, it was the 80s, so advertisements weren't, I guess, were a bit more tame back then than they are even now, which I think makes 2077 even more prophetic, because, there is a question of when are we going to start having ads that come out similar to what we see in 2077, because we are 100% heading in that direction, which, it's not great, but, Mike Pondsmith is a modern-day Nostradamus, so I guess we just can't really question that anymore. But that being said, let's talk about some of our favorite ads from the Cyberpunk universe, just to give people a bit of an idea on the types of things people can find in Cyberpunk. And I think one of the biggest examples, and one of the ones that's most commonly used to talk about the absurdity of Cyberpunk ads, is the Budget Arms Second Amendment is not only for the rich ads. Uh, which is, the concept itself, the line, gotta say, pretty banger of a of an advertisement line. It really does. It's meant to appeal to the poorer, lower class of Night City, those who can't afford the higher quality Arasaka Militech guns, but instead they go for Budget Arms, and Budget Arms is offering them the way out. The Second Amendment is not only for the rich. Even if you're poor, you can have a hand cannon too. And the way they display this is they have multiple ads for this, but one of the more prominent ones features a family, all of them strapped to the gills, a grandfather, a pregnant mother, a happy father, and their two kids, all strapped up and loaded to just to go out to effectively fight in the streets. It's definitely a bit jarring. I'd say, imagine if we saw a gun advertisement today that showed an entire family of people loading up with AR-15s and the words, "the Second Amendment is not only for the rich," come across the screen. I think by modern standards, that ad might be a bit suggestive, or maybe even a bit risque, considering the approximation of children and firearms. But, it's Cyberpunk, so we're not exactly afraid to go past that limit. Another Second Amendment is not only for the rich ad, features a woman holding a gun while she is silhouetted with the shadow of a man holding a knife. And obviously the implications of that one are pretty insane. There's another ad that's really famous that you see a lot in Cyberpunk 2077, where the content of the ad is some guy on the very just the brink, and he has a gun in his mouth, and the words on the advertisement are "getting close" with a question mark. And the line says to save your corporate career with S-Certs 3000. It does not actually say what the product does. Which I still don't know what S-Certs 3000 is. Based off of the picture that's on the ad, we can assume it's pills or of some kind. I don't know how that's supposed to save your corporate career, but just the image alone on the ad is something that would never be on television or any ad today. But it gives the effect of someone from the 1950s going forward in time and watching like The Dark Knight or something. Like they lose their mind. You just can't show that stuff on modern television or anything like that. But the question is, will we ever get to a point where that is the norm? And that's going to be, I'd say, pretty scary. Ads like that, I don't know, sort of reflects a society where people are at their limits often, and that it's common enough for it to be an advertisement, which, I mean, that's another part of Cyberpunk is the storytelling that comes through its advertisements, where you can learn more about the setting and how common certain things are, or how certain people think based off of the ads that you see in the game and on the tabletop and in 2020. And it sort of does reflect this kind of societal plague almost of how these corporations have pushed people to the brink of humanity itself. A lot of people are rejecting their humanity. There's another popular ad where it's a question that says "hate your meat," and it's a guy ripping his skin off, his face, the face beneath exposed. And that is, once again, that's not even an ad we can have in real life, because I mean, I guess we kind of have that already with plastic surgery, stuff like that, but it's a lot less in your face about it. And having that sort of broad, very bold in your faceness about it really works in Cyberpunk's favor. There's an ad from Cyberpunk 2045, Cyberpunk Red, featured in the old Tales from the Red Street Stories book, where it's an ad for something called Cactus Water, which is a company you interface with during I believe it's the Red Knight mission in the Street Stories. But the main point is the ad itself shows your water, and it's this gross, dirty, rusty, doesn't even look like water. It looks viscous almost, kind of fluid. And then right next to it is cactus water. And it's, this beautiful, crystal clear, amazing thing. And through the mission, it's revealed that, of course, cactus water is a fraud. It's just someone trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the people of Night City. And yeah. But that ad alone kind of shows the development of ads within Night City, because it's not the only water ad we have. In 2077, there's another ad that broadcasts real water, a gallon of real water for $100. Yeah, that's insane. But once again, it fits into the storytelling of the cyberpunk setting in the sense that it tells you fresh water is not very common around here. A lot of people are probably not even drinking water. It goes, back in history. People drinking water might not have been very safe for people. They didn't know how to filter. They didn't have filters. So a lot of people resorted to drinking beer. and other products. And, one can imagine a similar thing has likely happened in Night City with, the inventions of all these different sodas and alcohol brands like Joe Teal's Down Home Okie Hooch or Bolshevik Vodka or Abitos, all these different types of alcohol brands that are pasted absolutely everywhere. Seriously, play 2077. You're probably not going to go too far without seeing some sort of ad for a different type of alcohol or something. And obviously, alcohol in general is a huge part of Night City culture. For one, Broseph beer. That's huge. Another one being that the fact that the Afterlife celebrates edge runners who die by giving them their own drink, which kind of plays once again into that sort of consumerist capitalist kind of thing where in order to honor somebody, you have to buy something. You can't just go to their grave. Nope. You got to order their drink at the Afterlife. So the advertising in Night City goes deep, and a lot of the ads are way deeper than you might give them credit for. A lot of them, yes, they're made to be offensive and crazy to look at and imagine how we got to the situation where, an advertisement for a show that is so disgusting that it has the main character licking a dirty toilet seat. Like, oh man. But you kind of want to watch it just to see how depraved things get. I don't know. It's always a fun time to just take a look back through all of these different crazy Cyberpunk 2077 ads, because the art team for CD Projekt Red went so hard. It's insane. I'm a big fan. So I think we're going to move on from ads for this podcast. And instead, we're going to move on now to our metaphorical monster of the week. And this week's metaphorical monster of the week is not a corporation. In fact, I'm here to talk about one of the many gangs in Night City. We are going to be talking about the Reckoners, which I believe I have mentioned on this podcast before. When I was going over the gangs of Night City, I don't actually know if I mentioned them. And if I did forget, I apologize. But basically, the Reckoners are a gang of homeless people. At their basis, that's kind of what they are. That's how they blend in. They recruit out of the homeless, and well, I mean, a lot of them are homeless. But the thing that sets the Reckoners off from the rest of Night City's homeless population is that a lot of them have beliefs that align them more closely with something like a doomsday cult. They are willing to do quite a bit to further this belief of theirs, to the point where, I believe if the Reckoners were to get a substantial amount of resources, they could be an extremely dangerous gang for Night City, because really they aren't going after things for a financial purpose or for power. They want to destroy Night City. They want to destroy the world. So they don't operate on a sense of wanting something that people can offer them. They are crazy. They're insane. So working with the Reckoners is oftentimes tricky, because, you have to kind of fit in with their plan. In my setting, the Reckoners are working alongside the Red Chrome Legion primarily, and they're in a gang war with Maelstrom. And this is how that's working out. The Red Chrome Legion, in one of my campaigns about a year or two ago, they were not run out of Night City, but heavily weakened. You can learn a bit more about it in the episode where we talk about Sievert, but what you need to know is that the Red Chrome Legion is on the back pedal, or they have been, at least until recent days. But what they were doing to keep themselves afloat during this period where they were on the back pedal was they were selling off a large amount of weapons that they had stockpiled in a depot in the middle of South Night City Combat Zone. Where are they selling these weapons? Pretty much to anyone who wants them or who will go to the Red Chrome Legion to buy them, but their main purchaser would be the Reckoners. And the Reckoners are buying large amounts of explosives off of the Red Chrome Legion for one purpose and one purpose alone. It is because they are in this war with Maelstrom and they want to blow up the Totentans. So the idea with Cyberpunk Red in the Totentans is that the Totentans is right on the edge of the old combat zone. It's bombed to hell. The reinforcements and the building itself is starting to crumble. A good wind could probably knock the Totentans over in Cyberpunk Red. So there is a mission, I believe, coming from Danger Gal Dossier, where the Maelstrom starts to look towards north side and Watson for the location of their next Totentans, and they send the players out and go find it and whatever. But how do we say goodbye to the old Totentans? Well, if the Reckoners blow it up, that's going to send a lot of radioactive dust all over Night City, and that's going to be an entirely new radioactive incident that's going to have a very high death toll. And if Maelstrom's inside Totentans, well, I mean, that's their headquarters, and they all go down. So as it stands right now in my own personal home campaign, that's kind of the standstill we're at. The Reckoners are planning a large-scale attack on the Totentans, and the Maelstrom is actively trying their hardest to get out of that building before any of that happens. Of course, during all of this, there's a sort of subplot where Militech is aware of what's happening and is aware of the conflict and is actively trying to stop the Reckoners from doing this to Night City, particularly because it protects a few of their assets. But yeah, it's a huge mess, and the Reckoners are right at the center of it. So if you're looking for a crazy doomsday cult to use in your next Cyberpunk campaign, might I suggest the Reckoners? You might find you have a whole lot of fun with the way you use them. That'll be it for us this week. Thank you so much for coming in and listening to me yap for about 20 minutes. This is, I believe, episode 15, episode 16, somewhere in that region. So I've been at this for quite a while now, and it's been a pleasure. I will see you guys next week. I've been Tyler Hapney, and this has been Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you so much.